Welcome back to another episode of the Sleepwalkers podcast. Tonight you are joined by your hosts Chris, Tam, Jared, and Ken.
What's up?
Hey. uh,
Hello.
And
Hi,
tonight we
Jared.
are and tonight we are talking about the mystery of Elisa Lam. On February 19th, 2013, the 21-year-old body of Chinese-Canadian tourist Elisa Lam was recovered from a large cistern atop the Cecil Hotel in downtown Los Angeles. She was last seen alive on January 31st and was reported missing by her parents on February 1st. Her body was discovered by a hotel maintenance worker investigating complaints of flooding and low water pressure. The case gained interest when the police released security camera footage of Lam behaving erratically in a hotel elevator on the day she was last seen alive. The video that was released by the police showed Lam standing in the elevator and appears to be speaking to someone who is unseen from the cameras. In this footage, you can see that the elevator doors would not close. Her movements appeared strange and erratic. She would jump in and out from the elevator. Then she just simply vanished. An extensive search through the hotel's CCTV footage provided no more evidence to the disappearance of Elisa Lam. 19 days later, her body was found inside the hotel's water tank on the roof. The roof was barricaded throughout and protected by an alarm. The water tanks themselves were so difficult to access that firefighters had to cut the tank open to remove her body. The lids of the water tank were so heavy it would seem impossible for a 21-year-old woman to have moved them herself. And even if Elisa did somehow get into the water tank by herself, how was she able to close the lid behind her? So this is definitely a mysterious case, and there's going to be a lot of viewpoints that we can look at it tonight. So the first one, I'm just going to go ahead and start off going down by the list. And so I'm going to swing this one over you, Jared. So there's a lot of theories that surround this mystery. One of the theories is that she could have been communicating with the supernatural force or hiding from the supernatural force in what appears to be the CCTV footage. CCTV footage. What is your opinion on this?
So, um, we're a conspiracy podcast kind of. We touch on a bunch of different things, and so this is something I really wanted to talk about. A lot of people that knew Lamb and really researched this story believe that she was haunted by the hotel's dark past. So, long before Elisa walked the halls of the Cecil Hotel, there was a lot of tragic deaths and a lot of like very, very um, haunting figures that roamed the halls of that establishment. And since its grand opening in 1924, there was numerous murders, bizarre accidents that led to death, suicides, and one of them was in 1962. I believe it was a woman of the name Pauline Auden. Forgive me if I butchered the last name, but she jumped from the hotel's ninth floor and she actually landed on a pedestrian and it instantly killed both of them. And there's reports that claim that the Cecil Hotel was one of the last places that a woman of by the name of Elizabeth Short, better known as the Black Dahlia, was seen alive. And also there was Richard Ramirez and Jack, forgive me if I butcher this last name, Unterweger. They frequently stayed there. And if anyone knows their true crime, Richard Ramirez and Jack were serial killers.
is that why you just said butcher?
Kind of, and I don't know how to say his last name. And another thing is, a lot of people, based on the footage that Chris had mentioned, there's a lot of people that claim, based off of the footage, that uh, she was attempting to reenact a popular internet ritual by playing the elevator game. And to play the game, a person must enter an elevator in the building at least 10 in a building that is at least 10 stories high, press a series of buttons, And according to the legend, pressing the buttons in the right order may open a gateway to the parallel dimension. Because anyone that has researched this or at least seen the true crime documentaries on her, they notice that it looks like she's hiding in the elevator and she has very, very odd mannerisms. And that's just something that was really intriguing of this whole thing. Was it wasn't just that she was found up there, but the history of the hotel, the people that stayed there, and just the hotel footage actually did kind of make it seem that she was playing the elevator game. So what do you guys think?
That's very interesting about the elevator game. I did not hear about that one,
Yeah,
but
I
it
didn't.
would
I didn't
make
hear about that either.
it could be like one of those places that just attracts people for some reason, right? And then there's like supernatural energy there, and
So I
just
can go into more detail of that if you guys would like.
please.
So in the elevator game, after pressing the series of buttons, in the parallel dimension that you supposedly get transported to, it is supposed to look really identical to the real world, except it's super dark. Electricity does not work, and once the elevator doors open, you'll see nothing outside except a big red cross. And if anything to the person seems off or out of the ordinary, you're supposed to leave the elevator. And the legend warns you that an otherworldly or an entity that is a woman may step into the elevator and ask you where you're going. And by theories, you were not supposed to speak to or even look at her. And since people observed that Lamb pressed and seemingly random series of buttons in the elevator, and she was talking to someone that, or it appeared that she was talking to someone in the elevator. Conspiracy theorists speculate that she was playing this game right before her death, and that's what led to her being found in that tank. It's a far fetch, but hey, it's a really cool conspiracy.
That's definitely an interesting one. I mean, there's obviously no evidence for any of the prior, so like this could definitely be a credible source for it. Is entering some alternate dimension where she somehow winds up back in the tank, right? Explains why she wasn't able to get in, how she was able to get in there in the first place. So, Ken,
You,
thoughts? Do you think this is a supernatural force or something paranormal?
I don't know. I'm leaning more towards just something up with a creepy manager lady that ran it, because she seemed pretty soulless and like, I don't know. Maybe after a while, with how many people die, um, like with foul play or I don't know, health conditions. I know it was like a place where low income people would live, which brings a lot of other problems, most of the time. But on the video, you can see how she's like pushing all the buttons on the left.
Hmm.
And I think the bottom button that she kept pushing was like a to keep the door open. So if she would, and I think the videotape was originally like 4 minutes, but they just have a little over two. But when she came back in the elevator and pushed it a second time, there was the other 2 minutes. So if she didn't push the bottom, it would have shut normal. None of this would have happened, or the
Hmm.
video wouldn't have been the same anyway. And they pointed out when I was looking into this, the floor that she's on is the top floor, which was like 10 floors higher than her floor where she was staying. So for some reason, she went up to the top floor. Yeah, it's really strange. I don't know. I think I just got a strange feeling from the manager, the way she was doing her interviews, because she hardly seemed to care. And I was watching some stuff where there was some professionals watching her
Body
face, and
language,
and I guess she had Botox at her eyebrows and above, so she didn't have any real features to
expressions.
show emotions. Yeah, but the ones that she did show is there was strange timing on when she would kind of laugh, and
Hmm.
just her whole demeanor was a little morbid. So I don't know.
That's
I think foul play and um, like Jared was saying, it was kind of a home base for serial killers, and
like
I don't
a
know. There's a lot of bad stuff that happened there.
like a
Like the
place that
lady
just
was,
attracts evil.
yeah, when she was getting a tour from the maintenance guy, he was pointing out on all the floors, all the different, like a murder happened here. This person jumped out of the window here. This person overdosed in this room. And the lady made a joke like, "Oh, is there any rooms where people haven't died?" Like, just really weird sense.
Sense of humor.
Yeah, it was kind of strange.
Yeah, absolutely. Tam, what are your thoughts? Do you think this could be supernatural, paranormal?
My FBI brain is going down the rabbit hole right now. I'm trying to look at images just to pinpoint what happened. Clearly, to me, it seems like, I don't know, this could be some kind of psychotic or medically induced psychosis type thing. Just body demeanor when she is standing there, she just looks glossed over and just not like present, because I always feel like when somebody's at a standstill, like you can read them, you can read what, I don't know, just personal thoughts. But looking at the pictures, like, to be honest, I don't think it would be that hard to get into one of those. I mean, people can do some crazy things if they really wanted to, and absolutely get in there. So, like Ken was saying, it could be foul play from the manager and or one of the guests who was there. It could have been one of the serial killer friends or just some random. Yeah, I think it's mysterious for sure, but I think this is human based, possibly.
Okay, so that kind of leads us into our next theory. So, Jared, do you think that she was on drugs?
Honestly, I really don't know. Her behavior in the elevator really kind of leads towards that way, but the toxicology report showed that she didn't have any drugs or alcohol in her system.
Okay.
Like Tam was kind of saying, I really think that it was because she was off of her medication. And because she was on quite a bit of medication. She was on an antidepressant and anti-con she was on an anti-epileptic and a mood stabilizer. And at the time she was on Tumblr and Reddit posting some very, very odd things. Like when she was on Tumblr, she posted, and I quote, "I have arrived in La La Land, and there is a monstrosity of a building next to the place I'm staying." And she was referring to the Cecil Hotel, and in quotes, she said, "When I say monstrosity, mind you, I'm saying as in gaudy, but then again, it was built in 1928, hence the Art Deco theme. So I say, yes, it is classy. But then, since it's LA, it went on crack. Fairly certain this is where Baz Luhrmann needs to film The Great Gatsby." And not to mention, she was, it's reported that she was on Skid Row. And anyone that knows about Skid Row in Los Angeles knows that that's a very difficult subject to talk about. Lots of homeless, prostitution, drugs, a lot of lost souls go there. So that could have also played a fact into it. And just based off the toxicology, I can't say if she was or wasn't, but she definitely was not.
I don't mean to interrupt, Jared. Go to you. Do you know the oh my gosh, the potency, like how oh my God, what am I trying to say? Do you know how long, like, crack, if you smoke crack, it'll stay in your system?
76 hours.
For crack?
No, I don't know. I was just.
Because crack is one of those that it metabolizes in your system, and so say if she was there for a certain amount of time and her body would have detoxed it.
Well, honestly, it depends on the test that they did. And that's a really good point because in your urine, crack cocaine, urine, it'll go out in 24 hours. But if they were smart when they did the toxicology, when they pull hair samples, they can pull up to 180 days, I believe.
If they did it, they could have just ran a basic cell sample.
And they might have, but I believe crack is 90 days. Marijuana is like they can test up to 6 months for marijuana. And at the same time, I'm not knowledgeable on the toxicology reports for bath salts because bath salts is a really big drug that is on the streets. And spice. Spice is very, very potent. Spice ruins people's lives. And I mainly know the toxicology reports for the mainstream drugs. You know, you got marijuana, crack cocaine, normal cocaine, heroin, methamphetamines. So other than that, we don't know what was being used. And that's a really good point, Tim.
Well, I was just thinking about, like I said, I mean, she was missing for a period of time, correct? And possibly in this water tank. And when you do pass, especially in water, your body secretes, multiple fluids. Not to get all like in depth medical stuff, but I mean, it's what happens. I mean, no matter what kind of death it is, your body naturally shuts down and everything just, excretes. And like I said, my scientific brain, following everything back, if she was, dead at this point, found at this point, between that time frame, her body and being in the elements could have naturally, therefore it could have shown that there was nothing in her system. However, if you did also say that she, I did not know she was on any kind of antipsychotic or anti-epileptic. That stuff is very, if you go cold turkey off those things, this very well could have been what was wrong with this lady. Because that stuff is hardcore. If you miss one dose, it messes everything up.
So you're saying if she could have ran out of her medication at this point, that could have triggered something.
Oh, absolutely. She would have been literally 10 different people in a matter of minutes.
Yeah,
That
she
stuff,
was known for not taking her meds too. They mentioned that a lot. That she had a
yeah, and
history of not taking them.
I mean, those medications alone, like you don't need skid row drugs. You have medical grade drugs. And,
But a lot of people do look, seeing from personal experience, a lot of people do abandon pharmaceutical drugs for drugs on the street.
Yeah, no, I believe it. I'm not, that's what I know of these drugs. People will do anything to get them, and if this woman very well could have been skipping doses, possibly selling them, getting money to buy something else, could be multiple things. And
there's just a contributing factor.
Yeah, it's just it's one right after another, and this is literally one of those theories that you would never know unless you were there,
Yep, it's
because,
such an odd case.
And I hope I don't mean to be controversial. I like the back and forth. I like having your, opinion, and these are the conversations Chris and I have, and they get,
oh no,
him and I
not
will go like,
controversial at all. I love this. We're all like family here.
That's the point, is to go back and forth and to have different perspectives. That way,
different opinions.
Yeah, because we could all, there's 4 points of view here, and every one of them has a different, possibly like a good theory that nobody else thought about, or there's somebody in the audience. So
definitely.
That took my next section of did she have a medical condition, because we already answered that. So
yeah, they said that she was real adventurous, like she wasn't afraid, to go to new places. So I think LA was a new place for her. And when she showed up, she had put a message on one of her media sources that she used, and she was inviting anybody to meet up with her. Like it wasn't just people that she'd been talking to. I don't think it was anybody in general could meet up with her and go hang out or whatever. And she showed up in a bad area, like was already mentioned. So there's a few strange things.
Can you bring up
big city?
You bring up a good point. Is why in the hell is she at this Cecil Hotel? And the second point, and we can touch on the first one, is the one that Jared was talking about, was the posts that she was blogging. They sounded coherent. They didn't sound like somebody that was off their meds or on drugs.
But real quick, if I can intervene, she was diagnosed with severe bipolar disorder, and if anyone, everyone's different. Everyone has different connotations, different characteristics, but one of the biggest commonalities, or one of the biggest similarities that people with bipolar disorder have is they become manic before a severe meltdown happens.
Explain manic for
So
me.
basically, when people like Elisa Lamb was when she was manic, she manic is, I believe it's a brain, it's a unbalance in your brain, and it's abnormal, elevated, and it has irritable moods, intense energy, racing thoughts, extreme behaviors, exaggerated behaviors.
Okay.
These people that are going through severe episodes of mania or being severely manic, they suffer hallucinations, delusions, and I think that it go those people go from being the saddest people in the world to the most outgoing people ever. And you being manic is being one of a lot of it's different, but in my opinion, from what I've seen, a lot of people that are manic, it just gives them extreme behaviors, and I think that that's why she was inviting all these people.
So
And
Yeah,
she
just
suffered from mental illness, and Skid Row is literally a hub of people with mental illness that go there. And it's just because they're in an environment where other people are suffering from mental illnesses but self prescribing with street drugs, and they're trying to fit in somewhere. And forgive me if I'm wrong, that's just a conspiracy that I have, but a lot of it is hallucinations, which is why I think that when she was off these medications, that's why she was acting the way she was in the actual elevator.
she was off the drugs, and like Ken mentioned, she was just reaching out to anybody because she was just in like a different state of mind.
I think she was just inviting anybody to hang out. But I think the Cecil Hotel is really, really affordable compared to anything else that was around that area. So she might have went there for the price, and they say it was like really beautiful when you get in there. Like it was marble and super, super fancy. But then once you get out into the hallways, it was different. So she might have
So
just walked in and saw that, looked at the price, and decided to stay there and didn't know what she was getting into at all.
Do you guys know, was she an actual guest at the hotel?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, she was. And I believe that that hotel, you were people that lived on Skid Row, if they had the money, were actually able to stay there long term.
Mm-hmm.
given the behavior, given the um actually before I let's get into Jared's part first before I get into mine. Um so Jared, we were talking about earlier that there was a disease or
Tuberculosis.
yeah, that what will you elaborate on more what we were discussing earlier?
Of course. So, armchair experts like myself, gladly, a lot of them pointed out that there's a type of tuberculosis that was circulating throughout Skid Row, and she was actually tested on it before she passed, and it was actually called a Lamb dash Elisa. And I'm gonna butcher these names, but you can look up Lamb dash Elisa tuberculosis test. It's a real test. Super weird coincidence. And I just think that that's such an odd thing that she passed away right after she got tested by for that. With like, what's the odds? Her name's Elisa Lamb, gets tested for tuberculosis with testing for Lamb dash Elisa strain of, it's just it's very awkward, it's very weird, it's a huge coincidence in my opinion. Very, very odd. But
Uh,
really quick,
Sorry to interrupt, Joe.
oh, sorry,
I'm
go ahead.
sorry. No, I don't mean to interrupt. When you say she tested, are you saying she tested positive?
No, she did not test positive, but they went around mass testing everyone on Skid Row for the tuberculosis so it didn't spread.
Oh, I see. Okay. Sorry.
And
Thank you.
I wanted to just add this because this is something that I forgot to mention from my notes. So on the toxicology reports, they did find her regular prescription medications from a couple weeks prior in her toxicology reports. So
she
that's why they believe
was.
that she wasn't on drugs when she did pass.
Mhm.
Interesting. So, brings me to my next point, or my next topic that I wanted to talk about. Uh, so, so Ken, one thing that we keep talking about is the theories that it was either something with their medical condition, or it was some type of drug, or something that could have just been some type of virus that may have been possibly passed around. One thing that none of those do answer, though, is how did she end up in a water tank that took uh, full-grown firefighters to get it open and get her body out? Thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think that they had the trap door or whatever you called to get in to get into the barrels. They weren't locked. So those could have been open, but they showed a route that she could have easily taken. If she went out one of the doors, there was a elevator or not elevator, what am I saying? Those stair those stair
Farewell.
cases, you know, I
The
don't know
ones
what they're
that hang
called, but
outside the
like
building?
fire escape things that switch back all the way up, and it led
Oh
to the
yeah.
roof. So she didn't have to do anything like risky to get on top of the roof. But one thing they said that when they found her in there, she didn't. Her clothes were in there, but they weren't on her. And I don't know what this has to do with anything, but something about her tailpipe, whatever it's called, when it does like those Wonder Weenies when you're a kid, you squeeze it, and it goes. That's how her tailpipe was. So I don't know if
Really?
that would be a natural effect from being in the water for that long,
Hmm.
but there was no foul play, like
Oh, so they did test her for like any type of like rape or
any
something.
kind of rape or anything like that. Nothing like that they found. So
Interesting.
yeah, but
So
they said it wasn't hard to get up there.
it was not hard. It was just
Yeah,
hard to get
but
inside there.
I think she was really short and petite, and that was the one thing, is opening the door seemed like it would have been hard to do.
Very
But
she looks small.
yeah, I think she was even shorter than me.
Hmm.
I think she was like 5'2" and really light, and you can tell that she's petite looking. But I don't know, all the strange stuff that from the people that currently live there. Because it was like Jared was saying, Skid Row, and if they made enough money, they would probably want to go in there. And they had a like communal bathrooms that they would share. So she could have met anybody, and I don't know how cameras didn't pick up all that stuff. And they said something about they didn't have great coverage on some of the cameras. They'd be like at weird angles. They weren't really doing anything. And there is the timestamp on the elevator segment. There was a minute or more missing, like, and they couldn't, like, the management couldn't explain where that minute went, but it was supposed to be continuously running. But after it all happened and they went back to the footage, they were missing a minute of it. So I don't know. There's a lot too many strange things with people that were um, visitors to the hotel, and the manager. Just it was, I don't know. I just got a creepy vibe from her.
Me too.
I think she had been there for like 10 years. So she was either like immune to all of the death that happened there,
Or pissed off
or
that she had to find a new water tank to replace.
yeah. So
Oh, she
or
could have
and
been committing all of them.
she seemed really happy to be managing that place.
Hmm.
She was really proud of it, but I don't think there was anything good that was going on there. It was just affordable in a big city, so it was attracting like a lot of bad people.
So, Jared, what are your thoughts on how Elisa Lamb got into the water tank? Do you think she was able to get herself in there? Do you think somebody put her in there?
I really think that it was just a psychotic break from being off her medication, and I think that, like Ken said, she was petite enough to fit in there. It was just very odd. I don't know, and I can't speak on mental illness and why people do the things that they did, but did they find her clothes? Because she was found in there completely naked.
Yeah, I think her clothes were in there with her.
They
but
were.
she wasn't wearing them. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that sums up a lot for me. So I think that she was just petite enough to go in there, and I think that they had to cut their way out because you have a big old firefighter literally having to hold on to. I don't know if rigor mortis was set in. I don't know how water affects dead bodies after a certain amount of time. They might have had to cut their way out because they weren't able to manipulate her body because of rigor mortis. I don't know. I'm very ignorant on that topic, but I agree with Ken that she was just super petite. She got her way in, and I think that they had to cut their way out because these guys,
She
as you
was
can see in the photos, they're wearing a lot of gear.
her body like was bloated or something. That's why they couldn't
Yeah,
get
I
her
think
back
that's
out the
what
same
happened
way.
to them.
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
But she was deteriorating too because part of the complaint with the water system, like the water pressure was really bad. So I think that's when the maintenance guy went up there to try to figure out what was going on, if maybe a pump was out or something was blocking the pump. And they said that the water had a different color and it smelled bad, but it was probably her body, whatever would come off her body and go through the pump into the water system. So it's pretty gnarly.
Definitely was. And Tam, do you think that Elisa Lamb climbed into the water tank, or do you think somebody put her in there, or she paranormally entered the water tank?
Personally, I don't think this was paranormal dimensions or in that lane. I personally think she very well could have gotten there. However, I keep weighing on what Ken's saying about the employee, and I just stumbled upon another article about an employee being possible suspect. And like you were explaining about her earlier, I mean, if she was so happy to be there, she very well could have been committing or being a part of the other murders as well, and she was just, sometimes you have people in a place of power and they see lower income type people, they could very well take over and, hold something over them in ways. Um, so that very well could be, partial to her story. And again, back to the mental health issue, I'm no expert as well. However, I do know people go to some very different places that a lot of people either will never access or, will never understand. So I believe heavily on a person's mental state can do anything. So I do think, she was a little bit off in that way. Very much well could have seen a tank and said, "Hey, let's go for a swim," and eventually got tired and just, what else?
Couldn't get back
Use your
out.
imagination. Yeah.
Have you guys seen the
Yeah.
movie Hostel?
Oh, yeah.
That could have been something too. That's
Yeah.
kind of what I
Very
thought
well.
from how creepy the manager was. What if she was doing a hostile situation, like where you're inviting these people, like you capture people, and then rich people pay to kill people however they want?
Yeah.
I mean, that's one thing I thought too. Like that movie popped in my head, and I was like, oh, just because of the way the manager was so nonchalant about all the deaths, I was like, what if she had a side hustle where she's bringing people in to, you know what I mean?
Well, and really quick, by Ken bringing up that her death was actually eerily similar to a film that came out in 2005 called Dark Water.
Would you
Yeah,
care
that's
to
right.
elaborate on that for us?
It so Dark Water depicts residents of an old haunted building complaining of dark, foul tasting water coming from the taps, which is literally what happened. But much like her case, the cause was a girl decomposing in the roof's water tank, which is identical.
Did they how did the girl get there? Did they say in the story?
I don't really know, but if that connection wasn't strange enough, in my opinion, the film's main character are a mother named Dahlia and a daughter named Cecilia, which people link to the infamous Black Dahlia case and the Cecil Hotel.
Interesting.
So what if they were just, the manager was just waiting for the right kind of person to come in to check into the hotel, and then
We
she
should
was able to
investigate.
contact the people that were wanting to, kill somebody in that fashion? That could have been something too.
No, I agree. I mean, it's crazy that, it's probably just a crazy coincidence that the mother's name was Dahlia and the Black Dahlia lived there, and the daughter's name was Cecil or Cecilia, which Cecil Hotel. So it was just a huge and a lot of the features show elevator malfunctions, and young Cecilia can be seen talking to an imaginary friend in the elevator in the movie. So
how weird. So even if, so say for instance, those just from those scenes that you're talking about, even if the manager or if there was somebody else involved, for a film that happened in 2005, for her to be repeating those same situations, that's bizarre. That's extremely bizarre.
Yeah.
I agree.
So this that's pretty much everything I got. Do you guys have anything extra you want to add before I wrap it up?
I just don't, this isn't a cut and dry case.
Right.
It's just like, here's somebody that was new to the area, got wrapped up in a historical building known for, people dying. And then she was like a victim.
What does anybody know what the final rule from the police? Did they leave it unsolved? Did they give it a verdict?
it was officially deemed a drowning, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
But I
right.
don't think there was any foul play.
They never suspected foul play or anything.
Yeah. So,
Not that I ever saw.
after the hotel, everybody knew about this stuff going on. I think they closed down and tried to, they changed the name of it. I can't remember what they changed it to, but
the hotel.
yeah, they changed the name and tried to bring it back as, a normal place to stay, but I don't think that ever took off. There was actually a Netflix documentary on this. I think it was a documentary. It had like 2 or 3 different episodes, but I watched that. So that was pretty, insightful for what we're talking about.
Did you like it?
Yeah. That's kind of what pushed me to thinking that, because they interviewed the manager a few times, and she just seemed off every time. And I don't know.
Okay.
I think she had something to do with it. That's just my opinion. And it's just by her body language, because they didn't show her do anything. She was just sitting in front of the camera, but just how, she seemed to, I don't know, it didn't seem to bother her. It was really weird.
Interesting. All right. So this one, we're going to chalk it up as being too many viewpoints to accurately to call it a paranormal event, a murder, mystery, or some type of self-suicide, self-harm type thing, whether it be due to drugs, medical conditions, or if there was somebody helping the manager of the hotel at the time put Elisa Lam into the water tank. There's just too many mysteries from the elevator footage to the final outcome of the body, and especially for the place that it was in, it's pretty peculiar. So I think we're gonna chalk this one up as I'm trying to come up with a good word. We're gonna chalk this one up as I don't want to say unsolved because
undisclosed.
Undisclosed.
Mysterious.
Yeah, mysterious is a good one.
All right, we're just gonna chalk this one up as mysterious for the Sleepwalkers podcast team. You've heard from your 4 panel. That's gay.
Dang.
Oh, I'm sorry,
bro.
That's a bundle of sticks.
Tam, what do you have to say about that? You're muted, Tam. Tam, you're muted.
Ah, they're mute. The kid was over here talking and the cat was doing something. What did you say?
Never mind.
Yeah, it's too late.
It's Gato Negro.
Oh, I don't like that cat.
Gato Negro.
All right. Any departing wisdom?
Oh, you said the gay. Don't say that.
The gay.
It slipped.
Was that the parting wisdom?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Go for it. I'm sorry.
Do
That's I
you,
already did.
Tam, do you have any departing wisdom for us?
Departing wisdom. Yeah, this one's definitely mysterious. Um, she definitely something was off. I do believe she probably crawled in there and then was just like,
Couldn't get out.
got tired, couldn't get out. Um, yeah, but it is mysterious, definitely, because she, in the elevator, she's acting like, she's playing peekaboo with somebody. Maybe somebody was messing with her, taunting her. Maybe she was just seeing and hearing things. Um, yeah, definitely mysterious.
I like that. That's a good one.
Jared, final departing thoughts?
I really think that her being off of her meds really affected her, even though they did find them in her system. And I just think it's sad if if she would have chosen a different way and not got off her meds. It's I think that this is just such a mysterious case, in my opinion, that it's hard to fathom. I couldn't imagine any other viewpoint from family members or friends, seeing the footage and not knowing an actual answer. The police might have ruled it as a result of being off of her medication and a drowning, but no one wants to see that. And it's very mysterious, and I agree with all of you guys. So yeah.
Okay, good. Uh, Ken,
Well,
any departing thoughts?
yeah, I think she also had depression. And I know if you're not taking your depression meds, you know, you can be on edge a lot, but it sounded like she had a little more than that going on. But it does bug me that it's like kind of unsolved because she was just one of many that died at that hotel. And I don't understand how it went on for that many years, like how it could be running. It's not a coincidence that all these people are ending up in the same building and dying. Something's going on. I don't know how it even got this far, like to stay open that long, but yeah, so I don't even know if I answered the question. I just kind of went off.
No.
No,
I agree.
it's just a sad story. I
It
mean,
is.
she was young and had her whole life ahead of her, and you don't know what people are thinking at the same time. You only know what people want you to know about them, so
Yeah,
it's hard to say.
it is. It is hard to say. It's hard to really give. There is a lot of perspective on this case. In my opinion, the Cecil Hotel, just from what we've talked about, there's a lot of controversy and there's a lot of figures that end up in this hotel. And in just from all the other stories that we talk about, everything that you read about, I feel like this is truly a negative energy area. It has the Skid Row around it with a lot of human misery and sadness, and they have this hotel there that attracts killers. And for hotel manager, to work there in the middle of all this themselves could be some type of vessel for some type of evil force. So I believe that whether she was killed by someone or whether that she killed herself or whether some supernatural force, haunted force, put her in that tank, it was because this place that she was staying in was some type of energy force that was just an attraction for evil things to happen. So the case will still remain mysterious. Sleepwalkers will still continue on searching for the answers. We might find this in another story that we do. That's going to do it for the mysterious case of Elisa Lam. Uh, Different viewpoints on it. As you can tell, everyone is in different directions on this one. So leave us your thoughts on what you think happened to Elisa Lam. Write them in the comments. And if you could like, subscribe, and share our episodes with your friends and your family, we would greatly appreciate it. It would help our mission. It would help us grow, and we would greatly appreciate it. We would like to thank you for staying with us this season. This was season 1 of the Sleepwalkers podcast. We learned a lot. We grew together. We're very happy to have you on this journey with us. We're going to take a short break on this podcast just to gather our thoughts to come back with more episodes and more content for you to enjoy. So please stay tuned with us. Follow us on our social medias. I will make sure and I will get these links to you so that you can follow us and stay up to date. And we will let you know when season 2 will be coming out. And season 2 will be opening up with a banger. We will be doing the uh, giants of the continents, where we talk about the giants from different local myths and legends. This is Sleepwalkers Podcast. We hope you guys have a great rest of your night, your evening, and we thank you for joining us.